Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to dive into the world of commercial real estate investing with someone who knows how to structure deals at the highest level. Our guest here, Paul Monsen, is a key player in the co-GP and preferred equity space, working with MGG investment partners to fund and invest in high-value CRE deals ranging from 1 million to 20 million. But I'm going to let him talk about all that stuff because that's his lane. So Paul, without further ado, my friend, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you on. Why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience, explain a little bit about your background and what you're up to.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show, Christian. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk a little bit about commercial real estate, what we do, and hopefully impart some wisdom, I guess, if I have
That's
any.
right.
Yeah, so my background is 15 years in commercial real estate. I've been fortunate enough to do some really kind of cool things. I worked in real estate technology for a little bit, but most of my career has been around structuring and financing a variety of different projects. Largest project I ever did was a huge development in Northern California, 600 million total transaction. But right now I'm focused mostly on building out MGG Investment Partners, which is my investment firm, which you kind of alluded to. We focus on partnering with sponsors or owners of commercial real estate that need help with their financial structuring. We really like investing into multifamily, self-storage, industrial properties, and we're one of the few guys out there right now that really likes to take a look at land. We see tremendous upside in what can happen with land, especially if somebody has some local know-how. So that's kind of my very quick overview, and we can probably dive into more of it as we go.
Absolutely. So I'm curious. I mean, what you've been in the industry for, obviously you said 15 years. I mean, what got you interested in saying, I want to get into commercial real estate? How did you get your start getting involved in the industry?
Yeah, it's a good question, and the answer is kind of a little bit corny, but I grew up on a small farm in Wisconsin. So
Yeah.
I just like grew up working with my hands, loved just like the concept of land, right? Like
Mhm.
seeing something come together, and obviously commercial real estate's totally different than watching the crops grow every year, but in
Yeah.
like its core and its like essence, it's kind of the same, right? Like you're just
Mhm.
taking this piece of land that is underutilized oftentimes, right? And when you start a commercial real estate project, just similar to when you're in the spring going for planting, right? You got to do a
Mhm.
ton of field work. You got to do everything to get the property or the farmland ready to go and
Mhm.
plant, right? And commercial real estate's kind of the same. So when I was in college, I was fortunate to have been a pretty decent soccer player. So I was playing, soccer at the highest level, but um, didn't know what I wanted to do after that career ended. And then I just took one real estate class and I was like, dang, I can like relate to this. This is very similar to like my upbringing. And I dove in and I got my first internship working on a master plan community development, actually in my hometown. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally, it was taking poorly utilized farmland and revolutionizing my small 12,000 person hometown. So, I was hooked since then. Pretty much my very first internship, I knew I was going to be in commercial real estate, and I really enjoy it. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. It's funny, how, the things that happen to you, and it leads you into what, you're doing now, right? Everything happens for a reason, 100%. So let's talk about, what was your first deal, right? And maybe talk about what were some of the biggest lessons, you learned from that, and also what just gave you that hunger to be like, you know what, I want to take this further and continue to expand and build a portfolio for myself.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah. So, you know, it's been a constant evolution. And, MGG Investment Partners, our first deal was definitely not my first deal. My first deal where I really, really got in as part of the ownership and structured pretty much all of the finances behind this investment was a build for rent deal in Fort Myers, Florida. Right. And so this was in, 2020 when at the time build for rent was like known and it was becoming a big thing. But it was still on the precipice of just like launching it off. And, build for
Mhm.
rent, for those that don't know, it's basically building a single family community of single family individual houses, but instead of selling them, you rent them out, right? And I really, really got in with the clients and we structured, a $45 million transaction. And we literally structured every single dollar of that transaction. So, from the very first dollar in to the very last dollar out. And I
Wow.
was fortunate enough that my clients saw some value in what I was doing and were able to bring me into that partnership. And man, from that first deal, I think if you asked the right question, Christian, like from your first deal, you learn so much, right?
Mhm.
And just everything on structuring deals, working with the appropriate contractors, working with the appropriate architects, everything. I like to think I'm a lot more efficient now, but you know, the landscape has changed so much that even our last deal you can really say I've learned just as much in the last deal. Just even though we know what we're doing, but you got to be so nimble in today's world that we're learning a ton. But the build for rent project in Fort Myers, we've gone on now to build over $100 million of build for rent product in that market,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
all performing super well, fortunately. So that was a fun one to work on. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for breaking that down. So I know you focus also on co-GP and preferred equity, right? Can you break
Yes,
down,
sir.
what that means for investors or anybody listening who just maybe not be familiar with what those terms mean, have no idea what that is? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a little esoteric, right? There's
Mhm.
not a lot of information on this, so this is a lot of great question and
Mhm.
really, taking uh 12, 13 years of my history of structuring deals. We when we launched MGG Investment Partners, me and my two partners, we kind of look, where are we going to add the most value to the market, right? And how are we going to add the most value to our investors? So we focused really in on two things. One is a credit strategy, right? And what a credit strategy means is we want to try and get the optimal risk adjusted returns. So we want to still get, teen returns, mid to high teens for our investors, but we want to be safer. So we've done a good number of preferred equity transactions, which preferred equity is similar to a debt, right? But it is structured with equity style returns. So you got to marriage, like a loan, with a common equity investment, and it's got characteristics of both of those things. So, those opportunities, we really, really love to be in obtaining high or mid to high teen returns for our investors, but our leverage or our investment to value ratio, we never really invest more than 70-75%. So
Mm,
we are much lower, much less risky on those types of investments. Now we'll never get 20% with those. So we do want to see other opportunities where we're making significantly higher returns for our investors. So we launched a co-GP bucket of money as well, where we will go out and we will find local investors, or local operators, people that know market. For example, we work with a really, really great individual here in Phoenix named Chris Bade. He runs 48 investments. He knows the Phoenix multifamily market better than anybody, right? So we partnered with him on several transactions now, where he will do most of the operations, which is great for us because he's super local. He knows all of the main players, but we will come in as a co-general partner, so co-GP, and we'll provide, a lot of structuring help, a lot of investment, co-investment alongside of his investors, and we will then operate the property together. So, we bring our national network into a hyper local market as a co-partner. We might not be managing the day to day on that, but
mm.
we're managing the week to week. And that allows us to take on more deals, see a diversified, investment pool across the country, across different markets, and we still get that hyper local expertise. So I went through two different definitions quickly there. I don't know if we need to dive into either of them more individual because they are nuanced, but I'll leave it back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, so something I do want to dive in on that, and why do you focus specifically on deals in the 1 million to $20 million range? Is there a specific reasoning on why that is?
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And I've been fortunate in my career, Christian. I worked with some really amazing firms. I've had some really great bosses where I've spent most of my career working on 20 million to $150 million projects,
Mm,
right? Um, Now, as soon as you go over, it used to be prior to the current situation where there's a lot of market turmoil, interest rates have gone up.
mm,
Um, you could still find a lot of value in projects or properties that were in the $2 to $40 million range, right? But now what has happened is uh, all of the groups, the investment firms, the funds, the private equity shops that were investing in plus $50 million projects, they're
mm,
having a really hard time finding value, right? So what they have done is they have gone down. So, they used to be at $50 million and now they're at $40 million and then 30 and 20. So they're looking at deals in the $20 million space, and it is just hyper, hyper competitive, right? So it is really hard for us, and most people right now, which is why transaction volumes are so low, to find those value returns in that plus $20 million space, right? Now, you got the Ares and the BlackRocks of the world. They can't work on deals lower than $20 million, right? They're just too big of an organization. They would have to buy, you know, thousands and thousands of deals that are below $20 million, and then they just have a huge operational burden. So that's one of the reasons. But the other one is there's and not to offend anybody, but a lot less sophistication in that market. So we can kind of go and take our institutional knowledge and apply it to these deals, and we're able to make some outsized returns, right? So we're able to return more money to our investors, and it's also a responsible growth pattern, right? We can pick off, 5 to 10 of these smaller deals a year rather than have to pick off, 1 to 2 that is a maybe gonna be successful, right? We've got a much higher degree of success with 10 of these deals than 2 of them where everybody in the country is competing for it. So
100%. Work smarter, not harder, right?
we
Absolutely.
try
Yeah,
to.
that makes a lot of sense. I love that strategy. So something I know you even mentioned this too. You were talking a little bit about BlackRock and maybe the interest rates and things like that. I'm curious to get your thoughts on there's rising interest rates, the market's going crazy. People are saying right now is not a good time to invest, and people are very skeptical, right? They don't know what the next 5 to 10 years is going to look like. And no one really has a crystal ball essentially, but how do you see, the capital markets evolving over the next few years? How do you see that affect the commercial industry in maybe a positive way, a negative way? I'm curious to get your insights on that.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yeah, man, shoot, if I had a crystal ball, right?
Don't we all?
No, no, the world would be different, and everybody says that, but I think we have enough information right now to know or to make educated decisions, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think in the last 2 to 3 years, it was really hard to make an educated decision, right? But now we have enough data, we have enough insight. I mean, shoot, it's kind of funny we're having this though when the trade war's happening, and I'm saying that, right? Like,
Yep. Hmm.
you know, we don't have any insight into that, but we have enough of a data and roadmap to how the Fed and how everybody has responded to really what has been 5 years of unprecedented upheaval in our economy, right? I mean,
100%.
we went from COVID to record inflation, then to record interest rate increases, right?
Yep.
Today we've even with the tariffs that are going on, and the market going down a significant amount, there is a kind of a consensus of stability in a lot of the things that make commercial real estate an intriguing investment, right?
Mhm.
We've got now a favorable tax uh, environment for commercial real estate. We're likely going to have bonus depreciation be reinstilled, right? That's providing a calming to the commercial real estate world. But also, we have had very little volatility in the interest rate markets, all things considered, in the last like 12 months or so, right?
Mhm.
The Fed only dropped interest rates twice last year, and then they've stopped, right?
Yep.
They have said that interest rates are going to stay relatively flat for a while. They're watching inflation to see what happens. But we're getting, you know, real-time feedback on inflation, almost every day, right? So
Mhm.
I think it's a great time to start looking at commercial real estate. But the biggest thing that we are spending our time on is, has the value of commercial real estate reset, right?
Mhm.
And so we are hyper specific about looking at the reset of value of commercial real estate. And, you know, one project we're currently in contract to buy, we're buying for 9.5 million bucks. In 2021, it sold for 14.8 million bucks, right?
Oof.
That's a great deal because the value has completely reset, right? Um, Now we're taking a look at a project a half mile away from that one,
Mhm.
and in 2021, that project sold for like 12 million bucks, and they're wanting 11 and a half today. So there hasn't really been a reset in value across the market. Um, We think that one's only probably worth 8.5 to 9, right? So not everything is reset, but you can definitely find it. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I'm optimistic. I think, even with the trade wars, I think commercial real estate is finally somewhat insulated from that, right? Like
Hmm.
we're not dependent on, massive inflation, massive construction cost things. Construction slowed down so much that rental rates are finally ticking back up after a period of crazy interest rate. We're not pumping a ton of money into the market. So commercial real estate's it's finally seeming that it's getting normal, I guess.
100%. I couldn't agree anymore. And if you really want to be honest about it, there's been different market cycles since the beginning of time. Things have gone up, things have gone down. Eventually, stabilization comes back into play, right? So the reality is that it's every single time, no matter what, the people that stuck it through and stuck it out, right? You eventually make it, right? And it's always we talk about right when others are fearful, be greedy, but obviously
Yeah.
do it the right way. But I mean, there's never a bad time, right? You just have to find different avenues on how to get yourself in the seat, right? And I think it's imperative, for people to, even have conversations with you about like, hey, like I can put my money over here instead of just letting it sit. Your dollar is losing value by just sitting, right? It's fair to say that, and it's just the truth. So it's important, no matter what the asset class is that you start getting yourself involved with that process because I mean, you might not see the fruits of that obviously in the first year, couple months, whatever, but you have to start thinking about, what is the next 25, 30 plus years going to look like,
Yep.
right? So that's the way I see it. But either way, regardless of the noise, regardless of what's going on inside of the market, like we say, right? Things go up and things go down no matter what happens. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So
Yep.
that's the way I view it. Sometimes it's best just to shut off the news channel, right? So it
Yeah, I
is.
mean, I look, I do not check the stock market. I know about it, I read about it, but
Yeah.
I think it's a very unhealthy thing, and that's one of the beauties of real estate, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you're in that space too. Just what you do in the fix and flip world, right? And the projects that you're involved with, and other commercial projects you're involved with. The kind of beauty of it is you just got to invest and execute on a business plan, and you don't sit there every day looking at your phone and just getting techno stress from the market being red.
No.
We don't have that. And as long as you're investing well and at the right
Mhm.
basis, right, today, like it's a beautiful thing to not have that techno stress. So
100%. You focus on the things you can control, right? And also the physical things that you can
exactly.
have in your possession, right? That's the biggest thing. It's, sometimes we'll get so fixated on these outside things that you can't control, right? Whether you invest in the S&P, whether you invest in bonds, these are all things that are completely out of your control, right? Not saying they're bad things to do. It's just obviously you want to make sure, you're obviously diversifying yourself appropriately to make sure you're setting yourself up for long-term success. So I'm curious, with your process, let's say someone wants to get involved, with working with you, they want to invest, they want to, take that step. Walk us through what that process looks like from A to Z, and how do you position them, for obviously to make the best decisions to get involved.
Yeah. Man, it's such an interesting question because there's such a spectrum of when we get involved with individuals, right?
Mhm.
I think one of the things that I recommend to everybody I speak to, right, and I sound like a broken record player, is just ask people that you know that are in investments about investments, right? Just like
Mhm.
it's such a good thing if you want to kind of elevate yourself into a new level of like financial freedom, right? You just got to ask questions, right? So a lot of times we get introductions from friends that we know that are out there talking to somebody, and they're like, hey, you guys should talk to Paul and Jonathan, and you guys should understand what they're up to. And so in some instances, like we are one of our biggest investors, Christian, we
Mhm.
were introduced to him about 3.5 4 years ago, and just their or his thought was, I want to invest into commercial real estate. I don't know anything about it, right?
Hmm.
And literally, we did probably 25 to 30 calls just educating on what real estate is. What does it mean
Wow.
to be a limited partner in a preferred equity investment? What does it mean to be a limited partner in a co-GP investment? What is it? What are the tax implications, right? What is your expected cash on cash return? What does it look like to be invested on a project for 3 years versus a project for 10 years? And oftentimes we'll have 10, 15, 20 calls with potential investors before that they get comfortable. The other thing too is what we do a lot is we review we have our investors are not exclusive to invest with us, right? We encourage them to go out and see other deals in the market. If they want to provide us feedback on our deals, it's great for us. It's great for us to learn. I'd say in almost every instance, though, we're pretty fortunate just because we're very selective. Last year alone, I looked at probably 400, 500 deals, and we only invested into 5 of them, right? So
Wow.
we are very, very, very selective. But I'll review an investor's deal anytime, right? And I'll give them feedback and we can walk through it. Now we do have some other investors that are, you know, have been investing into commercial real estate for 10, 15 years, and they want to dive in immediately into the nitty gritty of who we are, how exactly our strategy performs. But the easiest thing is just don't be afraid to ask. Like if you're an investor, ask the questions. The questions you think are dumb are probably some of the smarter questions that anybody has been asked in a while, right? So, to any investor and this happens to us frequently, they're like, well, I don't want to come off dumb, but like, what does an IRR mean if the deal goes for 6 years? And that's
Mm.
like such an intelligent question that investors, like the newer investors, ask that people in commercial real estate for 10 years don't ask, right? So
Hmm.
asking questions, just getting on the phone with somebody like you, right, as well, like so in your mastermind in the group that you guys work with. You guys are such a good resource, and we do this for fun. We do this because it's fun, or at least I do. I think you do as well, based on our conversations. But ask the questions if you're an investor, or even if you think you want to invest in the next 10 years, right? Just start the question, back and forth feedback loop. So yeah.
I just love your process, and it's no honestly, it's no coincidence on why you're having the success that you're having, because I heard something and I really want to touch on this. Is you said you encourage other people to go look at other deals that are unrelated to you, right? Go see other resources. You don't really hear that a lot. You don't hear that a lot. I mean, that just goes to show that you're looking out for people's best interests, whether it's with you or not. It has to make sense, and I think that's something that, for those listening, you really got to pay attention to that, because a lot of times, and this is obviously not directed to anybody, but there is a lot of that going, on to where, I'm the only option for you and this is it, right? And it's like, no, you have to check all the boxes and make sure, this person, if you get them, what they're looking for the first time, you have them for life, right? And it's a friend, it's a partner forever, right? And you never know what that's going to turn into. It's going to turn into a referral. It can turn into everything. So by positioning yourself just to do the right thing up front, right? No matter what, and just looking out for their best interests, that is truly the name of the game. For in my opinion, it really is. So it's refreshing to hear that. That's your process, Paul. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think look, if we just like to position ourselves as a resource, just like your podcast, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, the one thing I guess I would maybe caution any investor out there is, if you get approached for an investment, right?
Mhm.
And that investor, that group or that investment firm or the individuals approaching you to invest in their property isn't willing to take a look at other projects that you've gone into, right? Like, they're not going to have the time for you down the road when you need to understand your investments better, right? So we love doing it, but it also just keeps us sharp. I mean, like if we're seeing other deals that get invested into, like I said, I mean, I took a look at probably 400 or 500 deals last year. So I think I'm staying sharp, but like the ones I learned the most from are seeing what my peers are investing into, right? So I love seeing those deals, and hopefully anybody that you got that is investing along, or you're investing with as an investor, um, they're willing to take a look at those deals and kind of learn as well. So I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's a positive feedback loop, right? It gets everybody better the more deals they see, and especially the ones that are getting done. So
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Paul, man, I wish we had another hour to dive into this because there's a lot more stuff I want to pick your brain on and talk about. And unfortunately, I don't. But for those that want to get involved, for people that want to find you and work with you, why don't you just break down, where do people need to reach out and go to?
yeah, I mean, the easiest thing is to email me, right? I'm perfectly able to find time for anybody that wants to talk. Like I said, even if you're a first time investor to a family office that wants to get into new things. So, my email is Paul at mgginvpartners.com. So Paul at mgginvpartners.com. I'm also on Instagram, LinkedIn. I got some of my portfolios up there. Starting to put out some more information on LinkedIn about just what it is investing into commercial real estate. So that's going to be a resource we're rolling out here. You can also go on my website. So I am a millennial, so I'm somewhat addicted to my phone. So if anybody needs to get a hold of me, I'm there for it. So.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see your screen time now, Paul. See what we're working with.
Uh, it's large. I mean,
Yeah,
the one unfortunate and fortunate thing about our my life is I get to talk to a lot of people, so I'm on the phone all day every day. So
yeah.
I got a lot of usage on my phone. So
Well, that just shows your commitment level, my friend. And those that are watching can definitely see that. But Paul, we'll definitely make sure we get those links that you mentioned and we upload those in the description. So those of you that are watching, you'll definitely be able to find them and reach out to Paul. But my friend, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to jump on and share your knowledge, share your value to the audience. I know I definitely learned a lot, and I know they did as well. And just wishing you nothing but the best here in the future, Paul. Thank you so much.
yeah, thanks Christian for having me on, and it's a great group that you put together. Your group Mastermind's awesome. Podcast is really great, so I'm really humbled to be on here. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. I'm humbled as well. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know I did. I know you got a lot of value because I know I did. But as always, my friends, we will see you on the next episode. See you on the inside. Take care.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.